Either one, Mike or Michael. Yeah, yeah. Actually, let me. It's Demon Fang. It's right there. I typed it in. That's how it's spelled in the chat. Oh, right on. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. That's fine. Suggestions? Oh, huh. Um, Headphones? Oh, that's unfortunate. Oh,
Okay, so the mic's on.
maybe try turning the mic away.
Okay, we'll wait for it.
Have like the mic and the speaker face away from each other if possible.
Okay, I don't know. Now I'm starting to think that this mic is the problem because I can't hear it on the stream right now. I can hear it just barely. It should be as at least as loud as his voice, and it's not. So yeah.
Uh, testing,
Yeah.
testing.
Okay,
Yeah,
so we
it's a
got
lot
that
better,
done
and the
now.
static went down too.
Yeah. We trimmed the speakers away.
Oh, there you go.
Hmm.
I can hear you guys.
Yeah. Okay. We try using the
Do you guys have your stream muted as well?
our stream muted. No,
Yeah.
we're watching the stream on a tablet.
Oh, okay.
So, can you hear me talking on that thing at all? Like, I can't seem to hear it. Wait.
I hear myself on the stream. It's there's like a 10-second delay.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, the microphone we're using. Apparently, we got to be sitting right on, put it up right next to our mouth. Because last time we were trying to use it, the one microphone for both of us, and the audio quality of the stream suffered because of that. So, uh, well, anyway, we're gonna have to get started here. Well, I guess this is just gonna have to be the setup we work with for right now. Well, I told you it's gone. Okay. Why would it be there?
Let's see. What do you guys have your threshold set to on Skype whenever someone talks? Is it high or
Sorry.
low?
Sorry, what?
When you guys your microphone threshold on Skype, what do you guys is that pretty high or pretty low?
Um, I don't know. How do you check? Not familiar, really familiar with Skype. See, it's got options. Yeah, it's really using that one. Okay, so if I turn it lower, what am I adjusting here?
If you guys set it a little bit lower, it should work out better.
Okay,
Actually, that I don't hear myself anymore, and the static's completely gone now again.
okay,
So that whatever you guys just did, I guess that worked.
okay, then I'm gonna stop messing with it. Okay, we close that. Suppose I could turn the Wi-Fi on. Okay, I think that's about as good as we're gonna get it for now. Have to work on out the rest of the details later. So, if you're ready, I think we can go ahead and get into the actual topic for this week.
Yeah, I'm pretty ready.
Okay, so this week our topic is going to be casual versus competitive gameplay, which is I was going to do that last week, but I had trouble getting people to come in, and I didn't think it would have been fair to uh, just talk about it by myself because I don't really. consider myself a competitive gamer, and I didn't feel like I'd fairly represent that side of the argument.
Hmm.
Now, uh, we got Demon Fang in here with us this week, and well, tell us a little bit about yourself, Demon Fang.
Well, I've had a competitive career in a lot of games, starting when I was about 14 years old. Started
Okay,
out in Counter Strike, then moved on to Halo 2. And the one that I'm playing right now is Smash Brothers, and I've pretty much been playing it for the last competitive Smash Brothers for about 8 years now.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. So, not really familiar with Counter Strike. That's a PC game, and I only just started playing PC games last year. Halo, of course, I'm really familiar with. I mean, which we pretty much talked about Halo all through the last broadcast. Uh, Smash Brothers is the one I find a little bit surprising. I didn't realize that even had a competitive element to it.
Yeah, we actually have a pretty big community. It's worldwide. Uh, like we have world championships. We have two world championships for it every single year. One for just for Smash, and then one for like the entire fighting game genre called Evo.
Okay,
Yeah. The main competitive game is Melee, the one on the GameCube, and it's I don't know. It's a very thriving community, and it's very grassroots.
right.
So we don't get a lot of help from Nintendo. So everything that the competitors do, we put it on ourselves. It comes from our pocket. You know. So.
Okay, right. And of course, Smash Brothers, especially Mario, that's been around forever.
Mhm.
Um, Personally, don't play that many fighting games. What did you say the genre is called? Evo?
Fighting games. Fighting games.
Fighting.
It's under the genre fighting games, and the World Championships for fighting games is called the event is called Evo.
Okay. No. Um, is there any kind of team aspect to that, or is it all just single player or
Yeah,
1v1s?
there's a little bit of it. We have a category called doubles where it's 2v2, two versus two, and
Okay.
it's just as prominent as 1v1. There's always doubles tournament held alongside 1v1 tournaments.
Okay. Now, sort of building on that a little bit. See, because when I think of competitive, um, I just tend to think of team-oriented games, mostly because I'm sort of biased again towards Halo, which is always a, a team game, 4v4, that kind of thing. Um, so let's see. Uh, I had some talking points prepared here. Let's get into the first one. Um, do me a favor and define, in your opinion, in your own words, the difference between casual gaming and competitive gaming.
I feel like competitive gaming is a lot more goal oriented in terms of winning. Um, it's a specific, competitive gamers specifically set out to play and beat other players to be the best in the world at something. There's always
Right.
uh, it's always a competition. To for essentially who wants to be the best, and I think that's how competitive gamers go about playing the game.
Okay. And uh, does that have to do with the specific game they're playing? Because like some people will define an entire game as being competitive or casual, but I think really that has more to do with the individuals uh, that are playing the game.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Even single player games can be competitive. There's a thing called speedrunning where
Yeah,
people try and, play through a game from start to finish as fast as possible, and that's definitely a competitive community. Uh, it's all depending on how someone approaches a game. It's all dependent on the individual. You're absolutely
right.
right. Yeah.
And since we're talking about single players, there's also leaderboards, which goes back to the old Atari games, going to arcades, and those were virtually all single player games. I mean, unless they had another coin slot, but yeah, the thing there was getting the high score and getting on the leaderboard.
That's pretty much, yeah, Star Driver here. That's pretty much where that came from because I don't know how old you are. Um, I'm 60, and video games when I was a kid was a thing you had to go to a place and find the machines and stick quarters in them in order to play.
Yeah, arcades. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
and
I'm I'm about 24, so
okay,
I
you
yeah.
might have encountered that at some point. But yeah, the leaderboard, just about every one of those games, once you got past Pong, um, when the game was over, they gave you a chance to put in your three initials and
Mhm.
be on a leaderboard, and everybody else would try to beat you at that because that was really about all the competition there was being on top of the leaderboard.
Mhm. No, yeah, I remember the arcades we had up here. Like, I don't know if you guys are in Anchorage, but
We're in
we had a place
Fairbanks.
called okay, we had a place called Ultra Zone, and that was the arcade place up here. And we even today there's still arcades in like the movie theaters,
Yeah,
or what's left of them.
yeah, that's true.
Uh,
Okay, so uh, another thing I wanted to ask about, uh, we haven't really talked that much about the casual side of it. Do you
mhm.
think, I don't know, do you think casual is sort of the default way of playing? Because, I mean, we are talking about games here. I mean, so a lot of people think that, if you're playing games, uh, but not to win, then you're by default made into a casual gamer. Or do you think that's something that, or I guess what I'm asking is, do you think people choose to be casual, or or is that just the standard, and then you have to make the choice to be competitive?
I think it's both actually. Everyone's casual at something. When you first start off playing a game, you have to decide whether or not if the game is fun, and from there you have to. It, er- if you decide a game is fun and you decide that you want to be good at this game, then that's when you make the switch from from casual to competitive. If you just want to keep playing, and there's, and just do whatever it is you want to do, and not compete, then I guess that's what makes you a casual gamer. But there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Like competitive gaming isn't for everyone, and
And just because you're
yeah,
a casual gamer doesn't necessarily mean that you're unskilled or untalented at the game.
yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah, exactly. Like when you play something and you just don't want to compete at it, that's no that's what makes you a casual gamer. You don't want to put your skills to test against anyone else. You just want to play your game and do it your way. That's
Right.
that's a casual gamer. And I suppose there's a little bit of a negative connotation towards both terms here, competitive and casual. But I don't know. I don't see it that way, but I've heard other people describe it as such, as like, oh, you're a casual gamer or you're a competitive gamer. I'm just like, there's nothing wrong with either of those. You know?
Well, we'll probably get to that, but
Yeah.
it occurs to me that um, when you're playing a single player game, and it's just you against the machine,
Mm-hmm.
um, one of the characteristics of playing a video game is that um, you're trying to accomplish something, and uh, almost like if you pick up the game for the first time and you start playing it and you're doing something and you fail. I mean, you just will because if you're absolutely new to it, you don't know what's going to happen and you find out the hard way.
Mm-hmm.
To me, the minute you say, I'm going to try that again, you start becoming competitive. I mean, you can say you're competing against a machine, you're competing against yourself or whatever, but if you get in that game and you stick through it to the end, you are competing because you want to win. You want to finish the game. And you lose time and time and time. And but by losing, I mean you have to start over at some point, and you keep doing that till you figure out what you need to do to get to the next level or whatever. That is a competitive spirit, in my opinion. What do you think?
Well, I think that's just fulfilling what you need to do to beat the game, because you've already decided that you're going to invest time into the game. So that's just what you need to do to beat it. I believe that competitive gaming is specifically setting out to be the best at the game, not just beating the game.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So not just completing uh, the game, like completing the story mode or completing a game in matchmaking, but actually excelling and being
yeah.
recognized for it.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
That
I
doesn't
agree with
mean
that.
that about the competitive spirit that you going back on what you said. Sure, it does take a competitive spirit to go and beat the game, but it's not competitive gaming. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Well, I mean, all video games are a form of conflict in some way. Otherwise,
hmm
there wouldn't be a game. So,
Well, I just meant in terms of when you choose not to give up. I mean, you could start playing a game, and after three times trying to beat a level, you just say, you know what, screw it, or you keep going, and after the 50th time, you make it to the next level. I mean, I think there's a difference in the kind of person in that respect.
well, okay. Well, I mean, as long as we're on the subject of just completing a game, uh, oops, did I unplug that? No, it's fine. Uh, uh, you've completed games. You've completed Halo, you know, and it's not necessarily because you are trying to beat or trying to have a competitive aspect, but you wanted to see what happened next in the story.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much why I play Halo initially, is because the game is how you get the story, and I want to know what happens.
Right? And also, you're talking about um, trying something a few times and then giving up. That doesn't necessarily make you casual, because casuals, can give up on something. Competitives can give up on something. Everybody can give up on a game for different reasons. And you know, for example, again, I talk about Halo a lot, but every new Halo game that comes out, there will be some new features in that game, some new mechanics that the people who play the previous game just do not like, do not approve of. They'll say the whole game is ruined, and then they'll just be fed up with it. And you guys think that mindset is much different from playing through the campaign and getting stuck on a level and throwing the disc away.
Well, I think that when someone gives up on something, it they stop becoming competitive because they've accepted that they can no longer improve, and they can no longer advance to the next level or whatever, go to the next step.
Okay, so you think that uh, a requisite characteristic of competitive gaming is um, rolling with the punches, sort of adapting to the changes in the new games. Because again, we talk about competitive gaming, but from year to year they come out with a new game, and then you know, the guys who were playing the last one, they got to go into a new game. I mean, it's not like with, for example, sporting events where the conditions of the game are going to be the same every time. You're not going to suddenly have to deal with um, a new, you know, a new football shape or some new thing on the field that wasn't there before.
Oh, well, in terms of that, whenever a new game comes out that provides different mechanics, different advanced mechanics, and just different from the previous game in general, it's considered a different game in the world of competitive gaming.
Right.
Uh, for example, every single Smash Brothers is considered a different Smash Brothers, and we don't compete. There's not a single person that competes in all of them. You compete in one specific Smash Brothers game.
Okay.
In Counter Strike, it's the same thing. Each Counter Strike is uh, treated as a separate game, and everybody competes in a specific Counter Strike game because the physics are different, the mechanics are different. Just overall in-game changes makes it so that you can't you can't sure skills carry over, but it's not fully the same, and that's why the rules are different from each variant of competitive games. You know.
Okay. So the Counter Strike and Smash Brothers tournaments, are they having, like, do they have competitions for each game, like at the same event, for example?
Yes, they do.
Okay. See, that's something that I don't think carries over in Halo, because it seems to me like whenever a new Halo game comes out, that game becomes the standard in the professional circuit. Like last year they were doing Halo 4. This year they're doing Halo 2 Anniversary. Next year they'll be doing Halo 5. And then there's not so much support for the older games. And that's probably uh, part of the reason why, again, for me, most of my experience in gaming is through Halo, and which is probably why I was under the impression that, once a new game comes out, everyone has to move over to the new game.
Yeah, I can understand that because it's because these first person shooters, they come out every single year, and they want to promote it, so
Right.
that's why that becomes the new standard every single year.
Yeah.
Fighting games like Street Fighter or Smash Brothers, even Marvel versus Capcom, they each pretty much each game is treated separately because the mechanics are completely different.
Okay. See, that makes a lot more sense to me.
Yeah, see, I did not know that.
Yeah. Neither did I.
I mean, the concept of there being like a Halo tournament where some people are going to be playing Halo 2 and some people are going to be playing Halo 4 is, foreign.
I mean, even their current game, the Master Chief Collection, which has all the engines from all the previous,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
most of the previous Halo games, they just stick to the one, that the new anniversary one, because like you said, that's the game that they want to promote right now.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and when Halo 5 comes out, Master Chief Collection and all the previous Halo games will be history.
Exactly.
No one will really want to play them. They're going to all want to play Halo 5.
Yeah. I think that's a little silly. If someone spent all that time, like there's a competition online, and this is coming from like I'm a competitive gamer. There's a competition coming up. You spend hours on days, on weeks, on months training, practicing for it, getting down every specific little detail just for this one tournament, and then the next year they completely update and change the game on it. All this time that you just spent learning this skill, perfecting this skill, just kind of it's wasted. Like it doesn't apply to the new game. And
Yeah,
what you won the tournament. What about next year? You just got to do it and do that all over again, and it's not. It feels like a waste of time.
yeah. Okay, I think that might be at the root of a lot of the frustration, especially with the Halo community, because the way you describe it, it's true. The people that support this game and love this game, they kind of get shafted every year. They got to come up with a whole new set of things, and that's why, you know, the tiny little differences in the game become huge, big controversial topics. Like in the online forums, and in the matchmaking in general. They'll
Yeah, well, there was um, a gaming event up here last summer, and there was this guy that before the event started, he went online and said he was the best person able ever at Halo CE, the original game. And my son and I are both laughing. We're like, dude, that game is like 10 years old, and why don't you move on, and all that sort of thing. I mean, in order to play the game, he had to bring like an original Xbox, and then he brought this old CRT TV, and I mean, it was just a hassle for him just to have the game there and play it. But I never saw it from the perspective that you just mentioned. Because he did put a lot of time and effort into perfecting his skill at that game, and
Hmm.
he was good at it. And but I'm laughing at him because well, Halo 4 is out now. You should be good at that too. And I did see it from your point of view. Now I have to maybe rethink my position.
Yeah, like and then the this I don't understand why they don't have Halo tournaments side by side either. Like especially you're right. There should be no excuse with the Halo Anniversary Edition out where it has all the Halo games packed
yeah.
into one content.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things about that. Since we mentioned it, I play with the control setting boxer, which is there's no universal boxer setting in the Master Chief Collection. So when I go in and I play matchmaking, like Team Slayer or something, one game
Hmm.
I'm playing Halo 2, the next game I'm playing Halo 3, and I gotta readjust my controls every single time, you know,
Hmm.
which I mean, there's reasons I understand why they couldn't make a universal boxer setting. I don't think it's one of the more popular ones, because like I said, it changes every game,
Hmm.
and I don't know. Maybe they'll work something out, maybe not, but you know, it's true. The things in the game that changed, that I mean, the only way you can really consider it fairly is to just treat it like it's a separate game, which it is.
Yeah.
I
Like I
mean,
remember one of the big issues coming into Halo 4 was that the battle rifle it was four shots as opposed to three shots in the previous games in the
right?
previous Halo games, and I remember the competitive community making like a big deal about that, whether if that fourth shot was it too powerful, what was it too strong, because if you I think like it's like four shots for the DMR to kill somebody if it's perfect headshotted, and then there's three shots for the battle rifle
Right.
to kill somebody if you
Well,
got perfect
yeah, it has
headshots,
to do with the battle rifle's burst shot and the
Yeah,
bleed through damage through the shields.
yeah. Yeah. Well,
And
the battle rifle now fires 4 rounds, doesn't it? Instead of the
no,
previous games it fired three.
it's still 3 shots.
Is it really?
Yeah,
Huh. Yeah. There was there was a huge issue about people complaining about that because like that maybe they should make it four burst rounds instead of three or the other
yeah,
way around. Uh,
yeah. But
yeah.
but yeah, I think that, but yeah, that just goes back to the root of it because, those people that spent all that time, getting those battle rifle shots down and getting them
Hmm.
perfected, that just a simple thing like the number of shots that it takes to get killed, that changes the whole nature of the game. I mean, just a little, especially uh, in the competitive games. In
Hmm.
Halo, they strip out most of the sandbox by the time you get to the competitive
Hmm.
area. You're just down to like your battle rifle and some grenades and maybe a sniper or a rocket launcher. I mean, there'll be other stuff on the map, but it'll rarely get used, if
Hmm.
at all. Uh, Anyway, let's move off of the topic of Halo for a second because we spent a lot of time on that in the previous broadcast. Uh, Now let's talk a little bit about Smash Brothers. It's like I'm not really familiar with that game, but
Hmm.
I know you got Mario in there, and then is it sort of all the heroes from the Nintendo universe together? And
Yeah, pretty much. And in the newer versions, they have some third party, like Mega Man, or like in Brawl, they had Snake from Metal Gear Solid, and then
right,
Sonic's in them too in the newer versions, the newer games.
yeah, okay, so now to me, when I'm watching those fighting games, you could show me a casual game and you could show me a competitive game, and I would not be able to tell you the difference between them. Because to me, it
Mm.
just, I mean, again, since I'm not familiar with that particular school of gaming, um, I think does it have more to do with choosing your characters or just knowing like the button combos and stuff.
It's definitely the button combos more. However, on the subject of choosing your characters, because it's a competitive game, certain characters will be better than other characters, but those characters will have counter picks and be better than other characters. You know what I mean? Like certain
Yeah,
characters, the way you play them, is good against other characters, but bad against others.
right. Sort of
Yeah.
like a rock paper scissors kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, it's a very complicated rock paper scissors dynamic.
Right, right. Well, I think that's fair because in those kind of games, you're basically playing on a two-dimensional map, and maybe you can go up or maybe you can go down, but there's not really any hiding behind this. Or like in Halo, you've got this three-dimensional geometry where you can
Hmm.
go up, you can go left, and of course, obviously, you've got uh, teammates and stuff, but everybody's using the same equipment, and um,
Yeah,
that was another thing in Halo 4 with people being able to customize their own loadouts. Uh, a lot of the old school gamers didn't really like that because they said it wasn't fair. I mean, and what they mean by that is equal starts. But
hmm,
in a game like Smash Brothers, um, you've just got the available characters and you trust that the balance has already been worked out in the game.
hmm. Well, it's more like the balance. We have to find the balance to it before making any complaints. A lot of people in competition, someone will find like some sort of exploit that seems impossible to beat, but the pros are usually like, hang on, before we go out screaming, "Hey, nerf this." Perhaps we should find a way to beat this before complaining to the developers. Like that's the way fighting gamers usually approach this whole. Oh,
Yeah,
this seems broken. Well, no, it's on us to find a way to counter this
yeah,
before we go and complain to the developers.
yeah,
That's certainly different from the Halo universe.
yeah, yeah. That is true about Halo. I mean, if you, yeah, again, we talked about it a lot, but it seems like Halo gamers just can't wait to blame the developers for any flaw in the game whatsoever.
Hmm.
Well, first, uh, they define anything that's different as a flaw. Then they want to get all over the developers to get them to change that thing, and then they fight amongst themselves about what the change should be, and that's when it just gets ridiculous.
Hmm.
Right.
But the concept of the players saying, well, let's see if we can deal with this, that's something that is just totally foreign in the Halo universe, and I don't think you could find too many Halo players that would come to that conclusion. I just
Yeah, that's it's really unfortunate,
yeah.
because uh, Halo, you know, over the course of the Halo franchise has had such a big impact in just Xbox sales, especially, and just the marketing for everything Xbox. I mean, Microsoft of course owns Halo, and it's pretty much one of their flagship franchises. I mean, it makes them uh, probably about as much money as anything else. They use Halo to
Yeah.
sell anything. I mean,
Yeah.
anything else that they make, they'll put Halo on it.
Yeah.
And which is why I think it's unfortunate that the game community, the community for this game, you know, at least the competitive types, that they have that unfortunate attitude. But again, I think that's because I mean, if you know that if you get good at a game and you know that that game will always be there for you and that you can always go back to that game and be
Hmm.
really good at it, you know, then I think you could be a little bit more comfortable with some of the new things that come out, in the new edition of that game.
Hmm.
So, you know, again, I think that's probably, I mean, gosh, the more I'm hearing about it, that just seems like so much of a better and really more obvious way of doing competitive things. I mean, if you're gonna have a new game all this time, why would you want to narrow it down to just the new one every year when you could
Hmm.
have all of them? There's like 8 Halo games out there, and any one of them could be competitive. And if they had all that stuff out there at the same time, they'd do a lot better. Uh,
I just wonder, with this difference in approach to the game that Smash Brothers players have versus Halo players, I just wonder just how schizophrenic someone would be if they played both games.
I used to. That's why I left Halo 2. Actually, is because like when Halo 3 came out, I played it competitively for a little while. I got pretty good at it, and then I realized like this isn't. I have to do this grind all over again. I have to reprove myself in this same but not same game,
yeah.
and that's just not what I wanted to do. And then when I realized like this isn't gonna stop, they're gonna release more Halos. It's gonna keep happening over and over again.
See, that
Yeah.
that is the most rational argument I've ever heard for someone leaving a game. You know,
Uh,
especially Halo. Usually, I mean, just being in matchmaking, being in the Halo community, watching streams, going in forums, anywhere you can be a part of it. Whenever you hear people talking about the new game, that they're fed up with it, they always reduce it down to just being that the game is in some way wrong, it's in some way broken, you know, uh, when really, like you said, it's really just about, you know, the fact that I think they just feel like they're uh, being uh,
cut out.
yeah, sort of cut out, left behind. I mean, and it's not that they can't adapt. It's not that they can't, do that again. It's just that that's really exhausting. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I mean, when you put your whole effort into something, only to have that basically get thrown in the trash, and put into the next thing. I mean that's got to be, you know, yeah, I can't imagine. See,
See, but then
Mm-hmm.
again, um, because Woodsman and I don't consider ourselves to be competitive, when the new Halo game comes out, we're actually looking forward to the differences. Or at least I am. I'm saying, what did they do this time? What am I going to be able to do? What's not going to be there anymore? That sort of thing. Like I can't wait for Halo 5 to come out because I want to find out. Well, first off, the story, but uh, what abilities am I going to have, and how is this gameplay going to be?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm one of those guys that, although I like all the older games, um, I want to play the new game until it gets to be, part of the background like the other ones, and then I can go back and forth between. I'm happy Master Chief Collection came out because now I only need to put one disc in there, but
Mm-hmm.
I can't. I'm not someone that loves, say, Reach so much that I'm just gonna ignore all the rest of the games that come out.
Yeah.
yeah, if you were a person who loved Halo Reach, then you had every reason in the world to despise Halo 4. But uh, I didn't feel that way. I mean, you know, part of it is because I never took the time to be involved in any of the competitive playlists that were available, you know, and you know, and just because I had already made a conscious choice not to go into that stuff, you know. Uh, but yeah, when I know a new game is gonna come out, um, I think some people would, some of the more competitive people in Halo, when they know a new game is coming out, what they'll do is start playing the old game or the previous game a little bit. Try to, if they've been taking a break for a while, try to stretch out some of those old Halo muscles and then get ready for the next one. Um, I know that happened. Uh, I think I think where that happened is in the transition between Halo 3 and Reach. I remember a lot of people, well, at least out of the people I knew, a lot of them would go into MLG and try to get their 50 right at the end there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so that, you know, yeah, I think at some level, at least, so that they could be prepared for the next game. And of course, anybody who took the trouble to do that was, of course, severely disappointed when Reach actually came out,
Yeah.
and and I can't really blame them for that. But me, when I knew Reach was coming out, I stopped playing Halo altogether. I think the best thing to do before a new game is to stop playing the old games. Try to find a game that's totally different, and just completely get the previous game out of your head. And that way, when it comes out, you can experience it with a fresh perspective, a fresh set of eyes, and maybe you can enjoy it more, or maybe not.
Yeah. Like I it's a little different on the topic of like fighting games because when uh when the new Smash Brothers came out, actually not this recent one, but the previous one on the Wii called Brawl, everyone was so excited for it. Everyone's just like, "Wow, it's like been 8 years. We finally get a sequel."
Wow.
And Nintendo,
I
yeah,
had no idea.
yeah, like Call of Duty Halo gets a sequel every year, where it's
Yeah.
like eight
Oh,
years, yeah, we get a
holy
sequel.
cow. I mean, imagine if you played the game for 8 years, then the new one comes. Anyway, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and then the and then it was so different to the previous game that everyone, like every player that started playing it was rejecting it, and it took a long time for everyone to accept that it's a different game. Everyone just wanted it
Hmm.
to be Melee, but it wasn't, and that was when the our community decided that maybe it's our mindset should change about the releases of the games, and maybe we're the ones who need to adapt. And so that's
Well, I
that's
mean, who
how
knows? It
that's
could
how
be
we grew our
another eight
community.
years. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Wow. That's a long time between games. I think maybe
Yeah,
that has to do with it because if you you know maybe that's part of the reason why people get fed up with first person shooters so fast is because they know that the developers are going to be putting out another one within 2 years.
yeah,
I mean, it's like, well, because then they have that they feel like they have that trump card where they can go and threaten not to buy the new game until the old game becomes like the even older game.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I have another question about Smash Brothers. Um, do the combos and the attacks for the certain characters change from game to game, or are they the same ones
The
that you saw before?
some of them stay the same. However, the properties of them change, and that's a very, very big difference because certain things will have different. When you hit someone, there's a thing called hit stun where they're stunned, unable to do anything, which enables combos. So different people have different moves that vary in different stun. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's because of that small change in stun that completely makes it so that combos uh change in nature. Just like the way you have to play the game is different because your moves have different properties. Your
Okay.
attacks have different properties.
Okay. I'm just trying to get a frame of reference because I know things like that. Like for example, if you look at Halo 2,
Mm.
the Halo 2 Classic versus the Halo 2 Anniversary. Uh, Even though the goal when they set out, of course, was to just take the old game and put a fresh set of graphics on it. But and that's how it is in the campaign mode. They just added a new graphics engine like they did with the Combat Evolved Anniversary. But in the matchmaking, there's actually two separate matchmaking or multiplayer game engines. You have the Halo 2 Classic, and then you have the Halo 2 Anniversary. Um, which the Halo 2 Anniversary it's on the new maps, and they also have in Forge mode in Halo 2 they introduced scripting, so that there's uh, things on each map that weren't there before, and little things on the map that you can activate that'll uh, have some sort of effect on the game. I don't think any of them really are all that game changing. I think most of the gameplay still goes pretty much the same way that it did 10 years ago. But
Yeah.
yeah, uh,
Well, in the newer ones, like the pacing of the game changes too. So like, the movement is changed. Like different characters will have different running speeds. They'll have different air speeds. Their weight is different, like how far they fly, how
Mm,
far or what percentage that they can be killed at. That's changes in basic things like that completely change the whole dynamics and advance gameplay in general. And that's why we treat all the games differently. And going back on the Halo examples, I know they added like, loadouts, and you can have like
right.
armor abilities and stuff like that. And that
Right.
completely changes the way the game is played too.
Oh yeah.
It's because of that.
Yeah. I mean that's stuff that they added in that gap between Halo 3 and Reach. They completely rebuilt the game, but there's some things that really there's nothing in either of those games that's similar enough, in my opinion, to compare, because they changed literally every aspect of it. But
Hmm.
some things are more obvious than others, and that's why they get more attention. Like obviously the armor abilities are gonna be you know are gonna change a lot more than something like the grenade throw distance. But like even the way the grenades work, there's that new mechanic where they kind of muffled the sound when you get hit with them.
Hmm.
Uh, and I think they did that because in the Halo 3 days, that's when people buying headsets started to get really popular, and people who had headsets just had a huge advantage over people who didn't, of course. And I think they kind of did that in response to it. And then in Halo 4, they turned up the bass on all the sound effects. I guess their way of countering the headsets is just to make everybody deaf. Uh,
Well, they're also very like fighting games and first person shooters are also very different games in
right,
nature, because in fighting games it's more a lot of it is about uh, outthinking your opponent. It's about knowing what you're going to do. It's about reading their next action and punishing them for it. Whereas in Halo, I felt like Halo, a lot of it was is reaction time. You gotta be able to shoot and aim better than the
right.
other guy that's shooting at you. It's
Well, yeah, I think that has to do with the fact that in Halo, everyone starts off with the same equipment. Everybody's player speed is exactly the same. They've got the same weapons, same grenades. Um, More often than not, the map will be perfectly symmetrical. So, like in a fighting game, you're playing with two different characters that have got two totally different, sets of characteristics.
mhm.
So I think that's where the strategy comes in on a much more personal level.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you take a game like Call of Duty, where it's essentially you see somebody, you shoot them,
Hmm.
because everybody's a one-shot kill. So uh, the more it's about how many people you can shoot before you get shot, it's reaction time, and the ability to acquire a target and hit it.
Hmm.
And all this stuff about knowing what your opponent's able to do and trying to outthink them and all that that's really not there in a game of Call of Duty.
Yeah. Like in fighting games, you have to be able to find exploits in your opponent's defense. It's like, oh, he's not blocking high, so I'm gonna come in with a high attack next time. But he could be expecting that next time. So what do I do in this situation? It's about knowing when and what your opponent's gonna do something, and just being able to. And the fact that it's 1v1 allows you to do that, as opposed to like first person shooters where it's a team game. You're not going to be able to outthink a team.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well,
You can
uh,
have general strategies, but in
yeah,
fighting games, it's very, very specific, precise movements that you have to think about.
yeah, and I think that might have been uh, what Bungie was trying to accomplish when they introduced the armor abilities. The fact that all of a sudden you've got this fourth element that makes your Spartan different from the other guy's Spartan. Now instead of just going out and trying to lure someone into a one-on-one battle rifle fight, you've got to actually take in this other factor into consideration. Uh,
Hmm.
you, you know, he might have a jetpack, he might have sprint, he might be able to turn invisible or become a living stone or something like that. And that and in that case that is what you have to do. I mean, it doesn't get talked about in the Halo community, but the way to counter armor abilities is with superior strategy and superior tactics. But
Hmm.
you know, the people, they just don't want to. I mean, they don't want to. They think, well, I've already got the battle rifle thing down. That should be it. That should be all. I shouldn't have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
think about what my opponent's doing. I should already know what he's doing before the game starts. You
yeah,
know, and and yeah, I mean, I think that's and that might be a big factor in just the attitude of uh, the fighting game crowd, because if if you for example in Halo, if you win, you could just say it's because you were better, because the other guy has the same options that you do. Whereas in a
mhm,
fighting game, you're fighting against your character against a completely different character. So so I think strategy has to automatically come into it, because you can't just expect them to have the same reactions that you have, because they're playing as a different character.
yeah, yeah. Well, on that note too, if you lose in a fighting game, it's completely your fault because it's not because if the other guy outthinks you, because that's all high level fighting games is outthinking your opponent. If he outthinks you, that's not something that you can blame on someone else. He's like, no, your opponent is smarter than you, and you lost because of it.
Right.
No,
That's
no, 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 no. Wait, no, no. The dog barked, or my monitor settings aren't right, or
yeah,
I got a cold. That's it.
Yeah.
yeah,
The sun was in my eye.
Yeah, that was it.
yeah.
No, it's windy in here. The winds, my bullets were, yeah, yeah. No, you do hear some of that when people complain about this or that, but you know, I think the essence of any kind of conflict between two or more human beings, it always comes down to outthinking your
Mm,
opponent. It's just in a Halo game, because you've got that equal starts, and because it's a team game, your options as an individual, as far as distinguishing yourself, become pretty limited. I mean, especially in the competitive uh, game types that they have, because they always
mhm.
have really small maps, really limited as far as uh, uh, weapons and things you can have. Especially with the Halo 2 anniversary. These maps, they're recreations of maps that have been around for 10 years. I mean, we know where the jump ups are, we know where the weapons are. There there's no surprises. The strategies that worked 10 years ago are going to work just as well now, because the game was made that way. And so so yeah, when it comes down, because you can't always, it's not always that clear. When when you're in a first person shooter, it's really easy to think that you lost because the other guy was just more accurate. But when you're
Mhm.
actually watching it, a lot of it has to do with the positioning, with where the what the team's doing, you know, uh, where you are, I mean, and very, very rarely, this is why I never wanted to be competitive in Halo. It's because you know even though you've got three teammates with you, you watch those games, they always try to lure somebody on the other team into a one-on-one battle. Very rarely do you see teammates sticking together and trying to take on their opponents two against one or three against one, trying to win by actual teamwork. Usually, they try to win by grabbing a power weapon or just uh, being a little bit quicker with their battle rifle.
Mhm.
And okay, so moving on to another subject here before I start talking too much about Halo again. Uh, do you think that there is any kind of a thing, from the developing standpoint, do you think there's ways to build uh, uh, competitiveness into the game, or build casual game style into the game?
I think that Dota 2 is a perfect example where they have ranked matchmaking rating system where as opposed to like just regular normal games, League of Legends has the same system going on. Just but I think that ultimately it's up to the players to develop a competitive community. I think that all games have in naturally have that you know competitive aspect there. It's up to the players to take it to the next step and find other competitive players to compete against.
Okay, so you mean like you can have a, a playlist that's
Hmm.
supposed to be the competitive playlist, but unless the people actually in there are taking it seriously, and actually
Yeah.
doing that, then it's not really. I mean, it doesn't really matter what sort of incentives that the developers build into the game, because all
Hmm.
they can really do is give you a rank of some kind,
Yeah.
and it's only worth whatever it took for you to get that rank.
Hmm. Yeah, and like for example, in Smash Brothers, casual players they play with like items on, and then they play with like coins battle where you hit them and you're trying to acquire coins, hit your opponents and trying to acquire coins, and then there's items on, and they play with like wacky stages that have random chance of someone just randomly dying because of it. In the competitive Smash Bros, we turn off all items. We set only neutral stages where it's just the stage. There's no interference from the outside world, um, and you know because of that, it's a competitive aspect to it. Even though that's not what the developers intended, we made a competitive rule set for what was supposed to be a casual game, I guess. You know.
All right. So yeah, so that goes back to just uh, whether or not something is competitive uh, is not decided by the developers. It's decided by the community.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true, and I agree with that. I think because another Halo example of that would be in Reach. They had this. They didn't. They had MLG, and then they also had another playlist called Arena, where that was the. You didn't have a visible in-game skill rank in Reach. What you had was just a progressive rank that only went up and didn't go down. And they invented this arena because in Halo 3 there was a lot of account boosting, and it was ruining the matchmaking for all the people that wanted to do it properly. And
Hmm.
so they made the arena where you had a rating uh, that showed how where you stood in the standings, and then once every, I don't know what it was, like 3 months or so, it would just reset and you'd have to do it all over again.
Oh man.
And
That didn't fly too well.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing we were talking about earlier about having to reprove your value over and over again. I mean, when we were talking about it before, it was between one game and the next. Which could be a year or two. But in that reach matchmaking, you have to prove yourself over and over again, like 3-4 times a year,
Mhm.
and you know,
But
But
then
at
again,
least then the mechanics remain the same. They didn't mess. It's not a whole new game, you know. Like that kind of makes sense. That's a little bit more fair than like let's change the game and you have to prove yourself at the new game. At least it's like all right, well, at least it's the same game. I can make the climb over again. That seems a lot less grueling
well,
than.
I looked at it like, okay, the Super Bowl just ended, and there's a team out there now that can say that they are the best team in football.
Mhm.
But that was last year. Okay, so it's all going to start over again, and everybody's got to start at the bottom and work their way up. They got to win their division and all that other stuff.
Mhm.
Now again, the game. There might be some minor things that change, but it's still football. You know,
Yeah.
and everybody pretty much knows what to expect, and they're just going to have to go at it the way that they've always gone at it, and that was the mindset that I thought would settle in with the arena because yeah, you're everything's going to reset, but that's the only thing that's going to change.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're really good as you say you are, you shouldn't have any problem doing it again. But
Yep. I
uh, that's
completely agree with that.
that's not how they felt. They felt
Yeah.
once you got to the top, you got this thing that said that you made it to the top, and you should never ever have to prove it again. And I don't know.
It's a competitive game. People like in that aspect of competition, other people are going to get better. Like
yeah,
that's where the idea of this thing called the metagame develops. Where you try and beat the best strategy, and the best strategy try and counters the strategies that are coming in to beat them. It's how competitive gaming evolves, and the
right,
as long as the game doesn't change, but the seasons change, I think that's a perfectly fine way of going about competing.
yeah.
It's yeah, yeah,
I mean, if you beat someone, that
yeah,
person that lost, he doesn't disappear. He's still there. I mean,
yeah,
he's
yeah,
got the incentive to get better. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, if you won, what incentive do you have to get better? None. But
Yeah,
the guy that got beat now, now he's still got something to prove. So he's gonna go out there, and he's gonna try and do better. He's gonna, maybe get with a better team. Try some new strategies, just practice more, whatever it takes. But like you said, he's gonna improve.
Mhm.
And if you're at the top, you know, you should have to stay sharp. You shouldn't have to just prove it once and have that be
Exactly,
it.
yeah,
And I think that attitude uh, was one of the big problems with Halo 3 because think of the kind of a person who would buy an account just because it has the top rank on it. I mean, like that
man,
was something that was happening is people would get up to 50 and then they would sell that account to somebody who couldn't make it and then they would just start a new account and do it again. And people would brag about, well, yeah, I've made 50 like 3 times, and I'm like, well, yeah, of course.
Try 25.
Yeah, 25 times. Like I've made 50 now 25 times in a row, and it's like, well, the first one was kind of the hard one, wasn't it? I
Mhm.
mean, after that, you go back to the bottom, you're fighting against people, who aren't there,
Yeah,
and then plus that means that there's, if you're doing it on your 25th run, that means there are 24 other people out there who got that rank, who have it but didn't earn it, you
yeah,
know, and that just it was just this nightmare, this vicious cycle of nothing, and for what? For a meaningless rank.
yeah.
And so what do you think about a person in a game like Halo that is supposed to be so competitive, yet the competitors only want to have to prove that they're good once?
It,
What is the competitive aspect of that?
I don't think that's competition at all because once you proven that you're the best and you no longer want to keep proving it, then that's when you stop being a competitive gamer. Because in my eyes, like in fighting games, right, the best once they've reached the best, they don't stop there. They want to hold on to that. Like our best player, but the best Smash Brothers melee player in the world, his name is Mango, or his gamer tag is Mango. All right, the first time he won the world event, he said he picked up the mic and he told everyone, "He's like, I'm not done yet." That's what he
Yeah,
said.
that
And then,
that's
the,
competitive attitude.
Yeah.
yeah, and then that I realized like this man, it's gonna be hard to beat this man. It's gonna be damn near impossible if no one
I'm
else has the same attitude as he does.
I'm
Uh,
starting to think everybody that plays Halo ought to play Smash Brothers for about a year.
Yeah, really. Yeah, I mean, gosh, I mean this. I'm learning a lot about the competitive community because, I mean, obviously, since I've been mostly focusing on Halo, I have been severely misinformed about really just even the concept of competitive gaming. Uh, I mean, and it's easy to see why. I mean, after so many years of getting just one sort of opinion on it, uh, you really, I mean, and it's uh, the way the people in this, I mean, and the competitive group. I don't know about for Smash Brothers or any other game, but in Halo, the competitive group has always been way the minority in terms of which group. There's always going to be like you know 50 times as many casual gamers as there are actual competitive gamers,
mhm.
and but and yet this small group out of this huge franchise, the small group. I mean, they complain about so much, and the feedback that's come from them has influenced so many things in the game, and you can tell, because with these games coming out in such rapid order. I mean, you can tell from game to game exactly where the roots of each new thing comes from. I mean, we could talk about this or that from Halo 4 that was very clearly response to this or that from Reach and this or that from the campaign, but you know, uh, I think it, it sort of speaks for itself in that that this small group out of these people, they uh, to this day still feel like they're the center of the whole gaming franchise when you know that's it's not the case in terms of sales and in terms of what's selling Xboxes. Uh,
It's really until Halo 5, at least, it really hasn't been uh, the you know the central part of the franchise itself. I mean, even the first game, Halo CE, was almost published without any sort of multiplayer. It was just that was a last minute addition, and it turned out that a lot of people, you know, would do that, and they liked it, and so they made it a part of Halo 2, and the rest is history. But the game itself is really not been centered around competition.
Mhm.
But over the years, this small uh, group of people has been so vocal that, and then of course the custodians of the game changed hands, and the new people that are running the game are kind of more sympathetic with the competitive types, and now you see this next game that's coming out that's going to be pretty much competition centric, and uh, I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing, but uh,
Well, it just seems to me like what I'm hearing today. Uh, I feel like these people that play the fighting games just demonstrate a lot more self-awareness. I mean, but by which I mean, awareness of their own strengths and weaknesses, and how certain things are not decided by the developers, and how, especially the competitive community. I mean, I think the competitive community is something that can only exist uh, within the fans of the game. I,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any way uh, to make a game any more or less competitive based on the way that you code it.
yeah, I'm sure Smash Brothers, as far as Nintendo's concerned, is just a fun game.
Yes, yes, that's exactly the way they treat it. You
Yeah,
know, they, I mean, recently they've shown a little bit of interest in helping out competitions, but it's not it's not much, and it's not nowhere near the amount of attention that like a Call of Duty game or a Halo game gets. You know, everything that uh like even if we make the slightest complaint, they're just like, well, our goal is for it to be a party game, so we really have no incentive to make these changes unless it's obviously, you know, a broken exploit like someone killing someone with one move right when the game starts or something like something
yeah,
stupid like that, you know? Like yeah.
yeah. And as far as the developers showing, or at least starting to show more support for the competitions, I think that has to do with sort of uh, the way that all gaming is going, and with these esports, and obviously Twitch being a big part of it. And I think the concept of uh, of playing a game competitively is becoming uh, more relevant uh, in society. I mean, there's always been uh, gaming competitions, but for a long time, people think video games, they think of like Pong, Donkey Kong, things that just silly little things, and a lot of people don't understand that video games that are being made these days, they're bigger than anything. We're talking, you know, billions of dollars on one game. It's
Hmm.
just,
Gone way past Hollywood, way past.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, take any new game that's coming out here. I mean, they're going to be spending 10 times what they spent making the movie. I mean, it's just, I mean, people, you know, they have no idea, and yeah, I don't know. It just seems that that gaming in general is headed towards a more prominent place uh, in society, and uh, and I think the competitive aspect is part of that. Um, but I think the way it's going to happen is that the casuals are the ones that really need to see the potential there, because competitives, if you're a competitive person, then you're just a competitive person, so you'll always be out there trying to prove yourself.
Hmm.
But you know people that consider themselves casuals, sort of a stigma maybe in their mind, that they feel like there's this wall between them and the competitives that they can't breach. Sort of that they'll always be, never be as good, never be, as relevant. That they don't. maybe know enough about the game. I mean, well, what do you think? Do you think that uh, that do you think that casuals should start to be more like the competitive types, or do you think is the way I'm hearing it? It's starting to sound like maybe the competitives should start acting a little bit more casual, or rather that uh, casual game or competitive gameplay will start being more the casual standard.
I think that well, here's the thing. Not everyone wants to go out and prove themselves.
Right.
Some people just want to play the game, and I think that the communities should stay separate but supportive of each other. Because we need everyone to show the developers that this is a game that everyone wants to play. We need everyone to help each other out because if seeing that the competitive community is a small part of the game, there no developer's going to make cater to that one specific group. You know, they're not going to make another game just so that just because the competitive gamers want it. The casual gamers, they have no problem, you know, playing that game, and they
Right.
shouldn't have a problem playing alongside competitive gamers either. I think uh, that the casual gamers should be able to play their game, and at any point they want, they can switch to competitive. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like it's not.
Well,
I
and
think they
when
should
they feel
remain separate, but still
right.
support of each other. That's pretty much
Right.
my point.
Well, I guess what I was getting at is that uh, the competitives, uh, you know, uh, it's like they have their own little corner of the game that they have, and they just kind of all stay there. Whereas the casuals, you'll find them in every level of the game.
Mm.
They're out there, they're experiencing it as much as they can because they enjoy it and they just they want to see what's there. Um, but uh, maybe the average casual gamer, uh, because I think as a casual gamer, there's not much incentive to understand the competitive mindset, or to understand the competitive game types, or the strategies that are involved in there. I mean, it seems to me that most of the people that watch a competitive tournament are themselves competitive, and that the casual gamers, they might stop and watch, for a while, and they might find it interesting, but I don't know. I think, do you think the act of watching a competitive tournament is itself a competitive act?
Um, no, but learning from it is.
Okay, yeah,
Learning from it and then using it, learning from it and applying it to improve your gameplay is like in Smash Brothers in Melee. Like it's a very fast paced game. I should show you a match of it or link you, and you should just sit down and watch it. And like it's very fast paced and it's extremely entertaining because like it's you can tell the difference between a casual match and a competitive match in Melee because things happen so fast that you can't react to or trust your eyes in that game. You know, we the way things move in Smash Brothers Melee, it happens so fast. We measure attacks in fractions of a second.
hmm
Yeah, and just the way that people play it at high level. Uh, Not only is it you're outthink your opponent, you have to do it at a very fast and very fast and adaptable way. And when a casual gamer sees that, I think that it it makes them want to be competitive. It's up to the competitive community to draw interest from the casual crowd to be in order for it to remain competitive because you need more competitors.
okay. So do you
Uh,
think that the competitive community has almost an obligation uh, to reach out to the casuals. I mean, if you're a casual person or player and you're thinking about making that conversion, because a lot of competitives won't even play with a casual. A lot of competitives, in my experience, if you're not as good as they are, they won't even try to help you. You know, I mean, the conventional wisdom in Halo is that if you're the best guy on the team, that means you just carry your team. You know, in other words, anybody that's not getting as many kills as you are is essentially a burden.
Uh, that's not the way it is in Smash Brothers because we not only does the top player want to be the best, he wants to help the next guy below him beat him. You
Right,
know, he like our best players up here. It's me and three other guys, and every single time we invite everyone to come play with us, and like we constantly give advice to each other because it's what we want. We want people to improve because we want other people to be at our level so that we can have good games. You
right.
know, yeah, we want to be able to play someone at our more people at our skill level, so that we can have good entertaining games not only to play but for other people to watch too. You know,
Yeah, see, now that is so different from Halo because I can remember back in the Halo 3 days where there were people that went into the forums and they wanted a separate forum just for people that had 50s. If you
that's a
didn't
little
have a 50, you
ridiculous.
could not participate in that forum. That they tried real hard to get Bungie to do that. Of course, they didn't even give it a second thought. But I mean that's how elitist some of them were. Now all of them weren't like that, but there was a big group of them that were, and they wanted that wall of separation. They wanted that in multiplayer too. They wanted there to be a separate multiplayer category where only 50s could participate in. I mean, uh, and that is so that's the polar opposite of what you were just talking about. And again, I think I think Halo people ought to be playing Smash Brothers for a while.
Yeah, I'm starting to agree with that too. I mean,
I think a lot of it has to come from how the developers treat the gamers because like the developers ignored our demands. Well, not I don't want to say demands. Like our suggestions for the longest time. So we had to go about building our own community. We had to go about setting our own competitive rules, and having to do that, being like acting like an elitist will only turn people away from your game. We
right,
don't want that. We want everyone to come and play this game.
right,
So we do our best to foster not only just community growth in general, and we believe that competitive gaming will happen naturally as a result.
right. And I think anyone who's really a competitive person, you would want your opponent to be at their strongest when you defeat them, wouldn't you?
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, because I mean, if you're just going around beating people that are not as familiar with the game, then even the point? You
yeah,
know?
yeah.
I mean, and yet to this day, you go into the competitive playlists. A lot of these people in Halo, I'm talking about, in a lot of these people, you know, they'll go in there and they'll just be complaining, and every time they lose, it's because their three teammates weren't helping them. And I can't help but wonder, you're so good at this game, you've been so good at it for so many years. Where are your teammates, dude? Like, why don't you have people? I'm not talking about you, of course, but I mean these people you know they're so elitist they won't even consider having a teammate unless that teammate is already at their skill level, whereas you know I don't know, my personal belief is that anybody can be as good as the best people if they put in the effort, if they
Yes.
learn the game, and most importantly if they have training, if they have people that are willing to help them. I mean, like anybody can reach that level, you know. I mean, uh, there's no special, you know, magic trick to it. I mean, obviously, some people are always there's always going to be prodigies out there, people that are born, you know, with special talent, but you know, really, that shouldn't discourage anyone else.
Yeah, the best basketball players probably aren't on a team yet.
Yeah,
Uh, I absolutely agree with you when because and when I see someone who wants to get better, I've recognized someone that person as this man loves this game, and
right,
if he wants to be the best, I will do my absolute best to help him out because I think everyone should be able no one should have to have like their dreams denied because of something as stupid as oh no one wants to help me out.
yeah,
That's just dumb, and I think, and I suppose like there's a little bit of rivalry between regional zones. We have Pacific Northwest versus the original the what's it called, the Eastern Coast, where and the Midwest and the South. We have different regions divided for our nationals, and like we want someone to be able to represent our state, really well when they go down to the
right,
lower 48 and compete, and just fostering community growth in general is a huge concern of ours because we don't want anyone to go on and be like those guys are assholes, don't play with
right.
them, no, don't, like that's not what we want said about our community.
Right. You
uh,
know, and I think that's just a wonderful attitude to have about it. You know, I mean, that's
Yeah, put this guy on the list.
yeah, but I mean that's so much better than the kind of competitive community I'm familiar with. You know, this uh, you know with the Halo games, you know, God, I mean that's really, I think personally, you know, if that community had more of that attitude of camaraderie, and actually, because I don't know, maybe there are some gamers that are like that, but I don't see them in Halo. You know, every time I see somebody who's doing really well in the game, I always, you know, like if they've got a mic and if they're saying anything at all, they're either trash talking their teammates, you know, like me. They're saying, "Oh, you're not getting this, you're not doing that," and they're not doing call outs. They're not saying, "Oh, the teammates over there," because they don't. There's no point, because why
mm,
why would you inform another teammate where the enemy is if you're planning on just doing
yeah,
everything yourself?
yeah.
And it's just a shame that uh, people who play my favorite game don't have that attitude of, uh, that are that are uh, for example, the people in the fighting game community.
Yeah, well, don't get me wrong. We trash talk as well.
Oh
Like,
yeah, I know. I mean,
yeah, it was like, "Oh, you suck at this game, dude," or whatever. But whenever someone comes up to us and asks us a question, it was like, "What do I do in this situation?" No, everyone will give them an answer for it because you know, it swings both ways. We believe, it's like
right,
we're gonna help you out, but when someone gets carried away, of course, when you're on a roll, when you're going undefeated in a tournament, yeah, we think that you reserve the right to trash talk just a
right.
little bit.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you
Yeah,
earned it, that's one thing.
yeah,
You know, but I'm talking about like just in matchmaking in general. Like I'll go into matchmaking if I go into the competitive playlists at all. Trying to find teammates. You know, that's it's really hard. I mean, like if you're already getting the top scores in your game every time, then it's easy to find people that want to play with you. But if you're getting you know uh, anything less than that, and if you're just uh, if you're doing okay, but this or that, you know it's so much of it is just a matter of teamwork. I mean, I think anybody can be so much better if they have. I mean, think of everything that you can do, in Halo, and then you had another person there. Your options, just by having another person there with you, helping you out, I mean, your options increase exponentially in terms of what you can do to adapt to a certain situation.
Yeah, and the thing about that is, a lot of Halo players, they once just because they're at the top doesn't mean that they're not at the top. I mean, like it's for individual game. You got the
Right.
most kills
Top
or you got
score.
the best kill to death ratio. No, doesn't mean that they're the best one in that game. I believe that assists should count to something
Yeah.
to some degree, and like just no, maybe they had more opportunities to get the kill
Well, yeah.
than other people.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, if you run out and your strategy is to get the sniper rifle at the start of every game,
Mhm.
then you're gonna get pretty good with the sniper rifle after you've done that about 100 times in a row,
Mhm.
and you're probably not going to be picking up a whole lot of assists doing that. I mean, if you're using this one-shot kill weapon, you're not even giving your teammates a chance to help you. You're just running around only being concerned with yourself. Same goes with rocket launcher or any power weapon.
Mhm.
Which these guys, that's the first thing they do. Is they say, "Oh well, I'm really good because I got the most kills." And I said, "Well, yeah, because you had the power weapons the whole time,
Yeah.
and the rest of us didn't." I mean, anybody can squeeze an extra 10 kills out of their score if they're using superior firepower.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, spread their wealth around a little bit. Do you really need to have the sniper rifle and the rocket launcher? I mean, there's three other people here,
Yeah.
that could help. I mean, just in terms of the battle rifle, I was watching this uh, Halo Championship Series tournament yesterday, and uh, I forget which teams were playing, but they were on this sanctuary map, and one team got a hold of both the sniper rifles, and then they were able to hold on to the snipers for the whole game, and the other team just could not come back from it. And Star Driver and I were watching that, and I remember saying to him, the battle rifle, it's four-shot kill, and there's four people on your team. If you all shoot at the same guy at the same time, if you all hit him, then it's one shot kill. You only have to fire once because he's
Mhm.
taking damage from four rifles. But not once did the other team try that. They never got together, and used four against one tactics because the other team was set up. They had map control, and there was a guy in the back with a sniper rifle, and I was watching it. It was obvious that they were going to lose, but I remember thinking if they just used teamwork, if they just used you know uh, the enemy having to control the whole map, that means they have to spread out their force. But if your team doesn't control anything on the map, then you can keep your force concentrated into one group and just attack them one at a time. And then maybe you can turn the tide of the battle that way. But they never tried it. They just kept trying to lure the other people into one-on-one battle rifle fights, and then they'd get sniped by someone they weren't looking at.
Mhm.
You know, and I think that it just goes back to this attitude of it being about the individuals. It's about this person getting the most kills, or that person not getting enough kills, or this or that. You know.
I think that in a game like Halo, I think that the needs of the team should overrule the need of the individual,
Yeah.
and that's something that MOBAs games like Dota 2 will teach you. Because when you get items in that game, you rarely get an item for yourself. You get it because it helps the team out in the end game. At the
Mm,
during the last moments of the game, that item that you got might shield the team from like an attack that might wipe the entire team or something like that. And I think that there's what the developers can do is, or even the competitive community can do is start changing the mindset of everyone that, hey, teamwork is more important.
right.
And it's hard for you guys because like your top players, they're so elitist, when it's the top players who have the most influence over the general community.
Right.
Like our top players here and our top players around the world, they used to be elitists too, and then they realized this isn't gonna help anyone. So they started changing their mindset. They told everyone, "I was like, maybe we should invite everyone to play instead of just good people. Maybe we should be helping everyone out." And it's all on the top players of the community to change the mindset of the many. And it's
Yeah.
unfortunate that Halo has such elitist players because everyone
Yeah.
looks to them and they're the example that everyone takes after.
Yeah. That's I've felt that way ever since I first heard about MLG back in the Halo 3 days. You know, that's all. That's it's the same song and dance every time. I mean, even look at what they did with this game now. They made this game like I mean, even in the Halo 5 beta test, there was a map that they remade that was all the way back from Halo 2. And I'm
Hmm.
like, why did you do that? Well, it's because then I saw this vid doc where this guy was like, oh, well, that was this one game where this team beat another team and that team was undefeated and it was the first time they ever lost. It was such a great moment and oh, I'm so glad that the developers put this map out. And I'm going, really? This is about you? They made a whole map again and make us all play on this map more. I mean, this map was remade in Halo 3, remade in Reach, it was remade in Halo 4, I think. And I'm like, dude, come on, make a new map. But
Yeah.
no, and it wasn't even because they won. It was because the other team lost. Because that other team was put on such a pedestal because they hadn't lost yet. That I mean, this map again is one of the few maps in Halo that doesn't have a power weapon on it,
Hmm.
and like they lost by like 1 point or something, and it's like you're talking about a coin flip, and we all got to play on your favorite map because of that, and I'm just like, oh my goodness. But see that just goes to show how much influence this like one of 1% of the people have over this community. You know,
Hmm.
343 starts hiring these professional guys because they feel like the casuals are following them, and they are. You know, like they're like sheep, unfortunately. I mean, not the new people. I mean, there's always every time there's always new people, younger people that are picking up the game for the first time, and but unfortunately, even if you're picking up this game with fresh eyes, as soon as you get into the community, as soon as you start getting a feel for it, you know, all rivers lead to the ocean, and it always comes down to these like this 5 or 6 or 10 guys you know, that win a few games a million years ago and are still considered, the pinnacle of skill in this
Hmm.
game that has changed so much I mean in such rapid order, you know.
Yeah.
Well, and the other part of that is these guys made their name in Halo 2, some of them in Halo 3, and of course when Reach came out, um, uh, all ties with MLG were broken, and uh, and then in Halo 4, those ties were not reestablished, and someone else tried to pick up that torch, AGL. Um, Unfortunately, their production value wasn't all that great, and that never really took off. And there was some talk with Virgin Gaming. Um, but that never materialized, and so you didn't get a new crop of famous guys, um, and the old famous guys really don't play anymore. So, I mean, like Bravo, I mean, when's the last time he was in a tournament, yeah, and, Snipe Down still plays, but yeah, okay, well, see, but, Halo 4 champions, I mean, you can't name anybody, you know.
Well, in the fighting game world, uh, when we have tournaments every single year, and when the world's best starts losing, and he doesn't, there's obviously going to be like top five, but when someone falls off the map, they're no longer considered relevant, and like very few people listen to what he has to say. Like someone like when the very first world champion, his name was Ken. He made a living off of the melee, Super Smash Brothers melee, and he returned to the game about 6 years later. Well, the game, the meta game has changed. People play differently now because new things were discovered, and he's no longer, the best in the world, and his influence is a lot less than it was when he was world champion. So if you don't compete and stay every single year and win every single year, you won't retain the influence that you had previously.
Yeah, I think at least on the Halo end of it, that comes from 343 Industries. Uh, they go out of their way. Like the Halo 4 beta test was a closed beta, and what they did was invited a bunch of people who were big names, in the competitive community, and they had them come in, and I guess some of them could stream it and whatever, But it's like, they had this beta test for this game, and the people that played it, all they do is use battle rifles and sniper rifles and sticky grenades, and that was the stuff that they tested, and that stuff worked great when Halo 4 came out, but the vehicle balance was terrible. The uh, God, all sorts of stuff like the balance and all sorts of things in that game were really bad. Now stuff that clearly that the competitive guys didn't test, and I think that's why they went with an open beta test this time with Halo 5 and did it uh, so much ahead of schedule, uh, like a year before the game's actually scheduled to come out. I think
Mm.
because when uh, Halo 4 is the least successful matchmaking of any Halo game, and I'm not saying that was all the fault of the competitives, but I am saying that you know a lot of the things that one of the um, was that they kept trying. They said they were trying to make it more accessible,
Mm.
and that can only mean uh, easier for new players. Uh, yeah, they I mean they did a lot of things, here or there, that I could talk about, but we're coming up close on the end of the broadcast here. We got about another
Mm.
uh, 10 minutes or so. So yeah,
And according to the chat, apparently we're about to get DDoS.
what does that mean?
Denial of service because the spam.
So is that better? You can't use. Oh, okay, well, I didn't know about that. I'll have to look into that later. Um, but yeah, we should probably start wrapping up here. So, I don't know. Are there any final thoughts here on the subject?
Yeah, I just want to promote my well, I just want to promote the game I play really quickly. There's a Facebook group
No
called
way, man.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, you're fine. Yeah, no, listen, you're fine. You can promote whatever you want.
no, I just want to say if you're interested in Smash Bros, just look us up on Facebook, Alaska Smash Group. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check that out because man, I would love to be part of that competitive community
Yeah.
instead of the Halo one. I mean, yeah, I don't play Smash Brothers, but I'm willing, you know, to learn how it works at least to see, uh, just to learn more about that competitive community. Uh, because I still hold out hope that the Halo group will get its act together. I don't think the game can survive much longer the way it's going. I think eventually there'll be a sort of Darwinism effect where those guys, uh, uh, that 1% of the group that's getting all the attention, you know, yeah, I just gotta think eventually Microsoft will figure out that that's just not working. You know, I mean, and it sounds like all it really takes is just a few, changes to the way that they're promoting the game and the way that they're running the tournament.
It's all on the top players, I believe, because they have
Yeah,
such a almost a cult following, really. Like all they have to do is just change the way that the their mindset on how to go about fostering the community, and that the rest takes over from there. Other people will, if they see that the top players aren't elitist, they're kind, and they want people to get better, and they want the community to grow, then everyone else will see it that way too. It's all about setting a good example.
yeah, yeah. I think that's true as well. Star Driver, you got anything else to add?
Uh, why can't we all just get along?
Yeah, I don't know, but okay. So, uh, it looks like it's about uh, that time. Last week our broadcast ran a little bit long, but yeah, thank you, Demon Fang, very much for joining us. Yeah, you opened my eyes to a lot of new things about competitive gameplay that I don't think I ever would have learned on my own.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and uh, I'm not sure yet what the topic for next week is gonna be, but anytime you want to come back on and discuss gaming with us, we'd be happy to have you.
Yeah. Let keep me updated
Yeah,
on
no
what it's
problem.
gonna
Oh,
be.
we
I'll see
will.
what I can. Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, thank you for joining us, and thank all you guys who participated in the chat, and anyone else who's watching the broadcast. As always, I'm Woodsman907, Star Driver 907. Joining us was Demon Fang. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks.
Yep. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.